Guess who's back? Back again.
Girls are back in town.
Guess who's back? Hello,
Welcome
everyone.
back, Sister Liz. Welcome back.
Welcome back, Sister Elizabeth. We are here. It's season 5 of the Company of Charity podcast.
Oh my goodness, season 5.
Can
That's
you believe
crazy.
it? Can you believe that?
I believe it. I believe it because we've been working hard, you know?
We've had a lot of episodes. We are getting close, and we're going to hit, before the end of the year in 2022, we are going to hit our 100th episode.
Yeah, so be prepared because that is going to be the episode of all episodes. I'll bet.
If you like co-host chats, that's going to be the one.
That's right. If you don't, go right on to 101 and be done with it.
I have not gone anywhere, but you have had some life-altering experiences.
Fairly life-altering, yeah. So I am I've moved from working with refugees in the beautiful Northeast, which I loved, the cold weather and the winters and all of that, and I'm now in St. Louis, which I'm learning to love,
It's the center of the universe.
It's the center of the universe, and it is the home of our provincial offices and our provincial aid, and so our sisters in leadership live here, so that's always exciting to be close to them. And and I am in formation, not in formation, but I am a formator,
right the
I
first
guess.
time, so you have to go back.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So I am the assistant to the seminary directress. And of course, everyone wonders, like, what are you talking about? Seminary. So we know this is also the feast of St. Vincent de Paul.
Happy
right?
feast.
Happy feast, sister. And happy feast to all the sisters and all the Vincentians around the world who are listening, because we know there are gobs of you listening right now. And so, Vincent was a really unique human being. And he had a great story, and you should all look it up because we can't possibly talk about his whole story now. Maybe in the co-host chat we could do it, but right now we have to get to a really, really good episode. But before we get there, St. Vincent de Paul and St. Louise de Marillac were really, really prophetic and really creative people, and they just followed divine providence and followed the spirit in a way that was quite challenging and quite radical at the time. We are one of the first communities, or really the first, that never was cloistered. We've never been in the cloister, and that is a pretty amazing thing. And so, when you think about Jane Frances de Chantal and Francis de Sales founding the Visitation Sisters, who was supposed to go out and visit, once they became a religious congregation, they were immediately cloistered, much to the dismay of everyone, But Vincent and Louise were still moving in this way, that thinking the poor needed to be served in their own space and in their own place, and that there was a way to reach out to them that was different than from the cloister walls. And it wasn't just how to reach out to the poor, but how to create that mobility for the sisters to be able to respond and be present to the people they were serving, who were struggling in so many different ways, spiritually, emotionally, physically, mentally, in all ways we could be present. And it was quite radical at the time. And so because of that, he used terms, both he and Louise used terms that were different, So instead of a novice, our newer members are called seminary sisters, right? And I love that because, seminary kind of means like seed, the seminal, the beginning. And so they are at the beginning of their vocation, the beginning of their life as daughters of charity. And I'm so privileged and so blessed to be working with 5 young women who have entered the community on August 20th. They were incorporated into the company, and they are just such a blessing. And I'm so just incredibly blessed and honored to be with them, and hope I don't mess it up.
I love that the seminary is that time where we get to know the heart of the community and the character and the values and just the whole totality of the charism. And I think it's so fitting that we're starting with this episode with Sister Anne Marie Lamoureux, who is a treasure and a dear sister, of how she's trying to draw people, especially people who are poor, into that spiritual transformation. We experience that in the seminary, and hopefully many times over the course of our life. But for her, providing this opportunity for people to step out of their regular life and to experience a beautiful sacred space in Emmitsburg at the Basilica, the National Shrine of Elizabeth Ann Seton. Say that 3 times fast. It's such a special, and to me, it's a special place. But I'm just glad to know that so many other people, thousands and thousands of people a year, are experiencing that as well. And this little program, Seeds of Hope, is such a treasure that you're going to hear about today. Go ahead.
And Sister, I think what also I realized in listening to this is Sister Anne Marie and she'll talk about, her life before Seeds of Hope. And you realize, the life of a daughter of charity, her ministry just continues. When one door closes, school closes, or something happens, we reinvent ourselves, right? Because the poor we will always have with us. And as soon as we can, we seek out the next place where God will meet us in the person who is suffering, or the person who is vulnerable. We know that God is there. And so I just appreciate so much her story and this ministry, and how, you just realize we don't stop, we don't stop. And she has taken on this new work in such a beautiful way. And oh my goodness, she's just such an amazing sister.
Oh,
Yeah.
I love her. I love her. So before we hand it over to Sister Anne Marie, we just wanted to remind everyone, refresh, and the new people who are listening, that we are on social media. We are primarily on Instagram as Company of Charity Podcast. We are at companyofcharity@gmail.com. You're always welcome to email us, and we have a phone number, so you can text us. Please text us your prayer requests or your suggestions, or you just want to say, hey, make sure this thing works. That number is 301-447-0204. And we'd love to hear from you. I just want to share with you, the last review that we had on Apple Podcasts was in April of 2022. So we're due for some people to write some reviews for us on Apple Podcasts.
And I'm sure that after you hear this episode, you are going to want to respond. You are going to want to let Sister Anne Marie and us know just how amazing her work is.
5 stars. 5 stars.
Absolutely.
All right, guys, enjoy it.
Enjoy. Happy feast.
Happy feast. All right. Welcome, everybody. It's Sister Liz here, and I have the distinct honor and pleasure to speak with one of the coolest sisters that I know, just a gem of a human being, Sister Anne Marie Lamoureux. Thank you so much for joining us.
And I'm a faithful follower of this podcast.
We have listeners, people. We have listeners, and I love it. So Sister Anne Marie, I want to make sure that we dive in straight away and talk about you, what you're doing, and the Seeds of Hope, which I think is one of the most beautiful ministries that the province of St. Louis has at the National Shrine of Elizabeth Ann Seton, which is very dear to my heart, as I know it is to yours. Maybe just tell us a little bit about you, where you're from, and how you ended up in Emmitsburg.
Well, originally I'm from Connecticut. Most of my ministry up until I came to Emmitsburg was in the New York State area. But the last 19 years before I came to the Emmitsburg campus, to the Seton Shrine, I was in Brooklyn and Bed-Stuy. And where I was, 9 blocks by 5 blocks was 95,000 people. And the projects were 12 to 24 stories tall. So a lot of healing took place for me personally when I was there. The simplicity of the people, the caring, the way they cared for each other, their culture, just everything was really, for me, it was a place of home, of growth. And I actually lived there longer than I lived anywhere else in my life, because I was there 19 years. Anyways, where I was doing pastoral care in a geriatric care center and loving that, but the hospital went under, and so it was sold to for-profit. So I no longer had a ministry there, and the daughters were looking for someone to go down to be a docent. And I had thought of that. I thought, oh, that'd be great to do for 1 year. I am there now 11 years.
God
has
like
different
a black hole. You can't get out of Emmitsburg. Yeah.
Anyways, the 1 year, because I was diagnosed with cancer almost immediately when I got down there. So I was there for 3 years of treatment. Our sisters had hospital in St. Agnes down in Baltimore.
Yep.
So it was, in many ways, it was such a gift because I could stay overnight with the sisters, and they were very wonderful. Sisters I never knew before. So,
and I think that's when we met, when you were a docent.
Yes.
And, you know, for those who are new, a docent is a person who, it's almost like a tour guide, but you don't go and you're kind of like a stationary tour guide. Am I right?
No, I went around.
You went around. Okay.
You can't keep me in one spot.
But the idea is to pass along the information and the story of Mother Seton and the many beautiful aspects of what she did there in the Emmitsburg Valley and for the people there. So did you have a favorite part of doing that work?
I think just meeting families and just being able to listen to their stories. I have some funny stories.
Please. Maybe just one, because we could tell a lot. But
I know. I was a high school teacher and never could, I don't think, teach real little ones. And this group of girls came with their leader, and they were like little Cub Scouts or something. I mean, they were that level. Not
tiny.
Tiny people. Not. Anyways, and so I'm showing them around, and at the shrine, we actually have Mother Seton's relics under an altar there. And so one of the little kids says to me, was Mother Seton cremated? Now, first of all, the fact that we have her relics would lead you to believe that maybe we had something more than ashes. But anyways, as soon as this child asked if she was cremated, I heard every cremation story. My grandfather has his dog who was cremated in the back of his car, and every child had to tell me
a cremation
story. And I'm like, and I have no idea how to bring them back. I mean, I'm lost. Like,
what do I do with all these kids?
And so when I finally got downstairs, the museum section, I say to the leader or whatever, tell me, did you ever have a dog cremated? Because she's the only one.
Not just cremated, but in the trunk of a car.
Oh, no. It must have been somewhere where he could see that he still had his dog. But it was so funny because everyone except the leader told me cremation. You know, somebody
Hey,
So those are the kind of things.
can't forget
that-
a good cremation story.
So that's one of my favorite, funny kind of stories. I have other that were more touching, but that one I loved.
Tell the listeners, at what point did this inspiration come to say, we need to do this program where we bring people in who would not otherwise have an opportunity, economically disadvantaged, traumatized people from the inner city maybe, who wouldn't be able to come out and have a peaceful, deep, profound retreat experience? Like, where did that come from?
That came many years before I ever got to the shrine. Back when we were 5 different provinces, and I was in the Northeast province, Albany province, and Sister Louise Gallahue, who was the provincial, said, I want you to dream, and I would like you to, what would your dream be? She challenged us, what would your dream be if you didn't have to worry about money or personnel? Just go wherever you go. Having lived in the inner city and knowing the challenges of no quiet, hopefully you can see beauty wherever you are, but if you're in such intense and violent, or just the city doesn't care, you know what I mean? Like, you don't have that experience, and so that's what we get an 8-day retreat every year. So I always knew that I would be going on a retreat and being, if you will, filled. And so that's what I wanted. That was my dream. Now, it was years before it ever happened, but that was my dream, that I could get some of the people that I lived with, worked with, to a place where they didn't have to worry about anything, and that was safe, and that we take care of their kids if they had kids. We just give them a day for themselves. And so it's always been on my heart for years and years and years, and God provided, because after a sabbatical, I came back and I was ready to get my boots on the ground, be right there.
With the people.
With the people, and share life with the people.
What would be a typical schedule or model, or what elements would you have in these retreats that would sort of help people to kind of connect to their inner life and their spirit?
Of course, when we welcome them with great respect and affection, and so they'll come in. We'll have like a continental breakfast for them, and then once we start, I always say, we're not here to convert you. We're here to share with you. I said, I carry my mom's picture, and does that mean I worship her? I have to make sure that people know that we don't worship saints, because they're all denominations, and that we don't worship saints, but I certainly count on, like Mother Seton, my mother, to be looking out for me and someone I can talk to. And then tell the people that the day's for them. These are the things we plan for you. If you want to do something different, it's okay. The grounds are here, so put everything in there, what they need or want to do, and try not to force it anyway. But most often they follow what we do. So we have a movie on Mother Seton. We take them out to the houses. They get a tour of that. We have a nice meal with tablecloths and real plates and glasses. We do not use paper plates. And Lots of times it's at the end of the month and they're very food insecure, but we always make sure that there's enough so they can take a meal home. So we have them all ready so they can package up a meal to bring home. And then after that, I usually lead them in a meditation, just a quiet time. And then they can go off where they want. And at one point, towards the end of the day, we have what touched your heart the most from that day. And that's usually very,
That's like a powerful moment, I'm sure.
It is. And when I had like 3 people almost there was this group of 26 saying I felt safe. It was like, we're doing something here. We had a woman from Uganda whose son was being ordained in Washington, and she was invited to come with the group. At first she said no. She didn't speak English or anything. Well, she did come. And at the end of the day, when we were saying, what touched your heart the most, she stood up and spoke in her native language, and her son translated. And what she said was, and I'll never forget it, she said it with such strength and gave me chills. It's almost like you don't have to know what language, what she was saying. But what she did say was, for her, she was so touched by being in the same room that Elizabeth Ann Seton had died in, and rooms where she had taught the children and where all of these things had taken place. And she said, in my country, in Uganda, our history's been destroyed. All those things that they're no longer. She said they've been destroyed, and you go into your future with your history. And so...
Wow.
And for the first time, I really got it. Why you would even have a shrine. I mean, it's like, so I went to our director,
Yes.
Rob Judge, and I said, I get it now. I get why this is, a good place to have this here. Before I just thought a nice place, which Emmitsburg is, but the addition of Mother Seton being, all that took place in Emmitsburg is just a bonus, if you will.
Yeah.
It makes it the perfect place.
In our community, we have a phrase that is often used, which is how we are evangelized by those that we serve. And it sounds to me that this work has been something of a transformative experience for you too.
Most definitely. One of the things that helps me is to realize how little I'm in control of this thing. Used to be, you plan something and you expect it to go that way. Number one.
Not gonna happen.
Not gonna happen, but it's gonna happen some way. You know what I mean? Like you could invite 20 people and get 12 or 10. Things happen in people's lives, especially in the life of those who are poor or on the margins. They just don't have the same ability to pass something off. And so that's one thing I think that's helped me, because like in the morning I'm like, it's going to go this way, I'm going to do this. Somebody else is telling me, no, I'm going to do it this way. And then God says to me, as I'm praying in the morning,
Like, who's in charge here? Who's in
says,
charge?
forget that. Says, why don't you offer some options? To this person, and then the person chooses the one I didn't really want, but anyways, and it always works out better. So more and more, I think that's what I've been affected most by is how little control I have over this, but how gracious God is and the Holy Spirit, and that the people that need to be there will be there. And I can't look at numbers, even though maybe I'll,
You'd love that many, many more would be able to come and access this experience, because it's, I mean, by virtue of where it is, now I would say we're both probably a little biased because it's such a special place, but the grounds and the chapel and the feel of the land and the feel of the air where so many people have come and left their burdens and prayed and sought God in their lives. I mean, it leaves a spirit or a sense in a place, and I think, the grounds there and the chapel there really, they have that sacredness about it.
They do, and the Basilica, for many people, is just this amazing space. And one of the things, too, that I'll share with them, we'll go and touch the mosaics and see how, what goes into it. And I'll say to them, whatever feeds your spirit, take time for. If that's nature, if that's art, if that's music, whatever it is, and there's, just make sure you take time for that as you go back. And people can see beauty in things that, just a dandelion or something like that. But whatever feeds your spirit, I encourage them, hopefully, to...
Where have people come from when they come for retreat? Is it, Baltimore, Washington? Is it Philadelphia? I mean, I know there's some bigger cities nearby.
Some of the Baltimore and Washington, D.C. would be the two places. And first of all, the fact that we can pay for our bus because people are supporting us. I mean, it costs $1,500 to send a bus to Baltimore and back. You wouldn't think it would be that much. And it's gotten, so it's like something they could never do. You know what I mean? And come up to a place like this. And same with Washington, D.C. But we also have local people. We have people living in places that are
not the best.
Not the best, not anywhere I would send somebody to live. But we'll have a day and they'll come, and we have vans that we can use, and we'll pick them up. We have people from the rescue mission in Frederick come. We've had whole Latino groups come. And we're totally handicap accessible.
That's great.
And we've worked at making that more so for people who have hearing difficulties, and so.
Wow. So what's your hope for Seeds of Hope? What's your hope for the people that come and have this experience with you at this place?
I think the biggest thing is that they would experience themselves as valuable, as loved by God, as really respected. And that's happened. I mean, because sometimes in the sharing, they're just amazed at how respected they felt. So it's a whole staff. I mean, like anybody who works at the shrine has to pay more than lip service to it. The way they greet people, the way, and they're on board. We have wonderful, wonderful staff that see working at the shrine as ministry.
Mm-hmm. Like a calling of sorts.
Exactly. It's not like just a job, but it's a vocation kind of thing, in ministry. So
I love the concept of call within a call, because all of us as Daughters of Charity, we have a call to serve the poor. But I think, in this work that you're doing, it's almost like another level of call where you're trying to address the spiritual needs of people who suffer. Because it seems like probably that's the last thing that's on most people's minds when they're struggling. It's my kids, it's my bills, it's how to keep and maintain a job and do everything that you have to do to take care of your life. And then the spiritual kind of comes last, I would imagine, for so many people.
right, because a lot of people, not just the people that come, but don't see the spiritual piece as critical as it really is, or as much a part of humanity's life. So
Yeah, well, what a great work, and I know we're going to put a bunch of links in about what's going on at the shrine and what's new there, and
Good.
I just think this is a great, beautiful ministry, and thank you for doing it and for bringing your whole self to it, because it's not just a curriculum or programs, it's the people who are conducting it, the people who give it. That's half of it is what you bring, and the welcome and the respect that you bring to people.
one thing I have to say is, though, before I ever started it, even though I thought it was a great idea, I met with people who were living on the margins. Seton Center, which we have, does social service, and I talked to one of their case management people or counselors, pulled the names of people from their file, and people came. We shared a meal. We never said anything about what we asked them why they weren't coming to the shrine. Why didn't they come? So we wanted to see what were the roadblocks for them to come. And now they're part of us. Once they come to Seeds of Hope, they can come to anything at the shrine free. There's they're on our list as members, if you will.
Yeah, what a great point. I'm so glad you added that, because it's not about what we want to do for people. It's about the contact and the relationship that you have with people, and then of course what's needed emerges, doesn't it?
Right, and that's it. You hear some of the pain, and then you say, oh, this would be good to add, or this would be to address. And during the pandemic, which was a really hard time for a lot of people, we had one place in the man's mother and sister had died of COVID, and they live up in the mountain. He couldn't go to their burial or anything, and he was so separated from his family. So we decided, or in prayer, God said, why don't you have some kind of ritual for them? So we did it outside in a parking lot. We had them write the names of anybody who had died that they wanted remembered, burned it, gave them little candles that were electric so they could put them in.
Yeah.
They were safe, and had a good meal for them, which we asked them what would be the things they would want in a meal. Some of them don't have teeth, so,
That matters.
mashed potatoes,
exactly.
stuff. You got to go with what, you got to be respectful of, not what I think, but what what
Isn't that our spirit?
Yes,
That's
totally,
our spirit.
totally our spirit. Yeah, we learn from people
Yeah.
what's needed. Yeah.
Well, God bless you, Sister Anne Marie, and thank you so much for taking the time.
Well, thank you, Sister Liz, and keep coming back to this podcast.
All right, take it easy, guys.